Everyone, today I want to talk about something that holds many of us back: negative thinking. We all experience self doubt, fear, and anxiety at times, but when negativity takes over, it can ruin our confidence, limit our potential, and stop us from achieving our dreams. Negative thinking limits our potential and holds us back in ways we often don't realize. It starts small with just a passing thought of self doubt, but over time it grows into a habit that affects our actions, decisions, and even our self worth. When we constantly tell ourselves that we are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough, we begin to believe it, and that belief shapes our reality. We hesitate to take risks, fearing failure before even trying. We miss out on opportunities because we convince ourselves that we are not worthy of success. Negative thinking makes us see obstacles instead of possibilities, problems instead of solutions. It drains our motivation and robs us of the courage to chase our dreams. Think about a time when you wanted to do something new, maybe apply for a job, start a business, or speak in front of a crowd. But fear and doubt took over. Instead of focusing on the potential success, your mind fixated on the possible failure. You thought about what could go wrong, how others might judge you, and why you were not good enough. This mental barrier is exactly how negative thinking limits us. It stops us from taking action, from pushing beyond our comfort zones, and from achieving what we are truly capable of. The worst part is that negative thoughts often become self-fulfilling prophecies. When we believe we will fail, we put in less effort, hesitate to take necessary steps, and ultimately our fears come true. Then we use that failure as proof that we were right all along, reinforcing the cycle of negativity. But in reality, the problem was never our ability, it was our mindset. Breaking free from this cycle requires us to challenge these negative thoughts the moment they arise. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," we must ask, "Why do I believe that?" More often than not, we will realize that our fears are based on assumptions, not facts. The truth is, we are all capable of growth, success, and greatness, but only if we give ourselves the chance. By choosing to silence negativity and replace it with confidence and self-belief, we open the doors to unlimited potential. Recognizing negative thoughts is the first and most important step in overcoming them. Many people go through life without realizing that their own minds are working against them. Negative thinking often disguises itself as logic, caution, or even humility. When we say, "I'm not good enough," we might believe we are just being realistic. When we think, "I will probably fail," we might convince ourselves that we are just preparing for the worst. However, these are not objective truths, they are patterns of thought that we have learned over time. The more we repeat these thoughts, the more we accept them as reality. But just because a thought is repeated doesn't make it true. The mind is incredibly powerful and it tends to look for evidence that supports what it already believes. If we constantly think negatively, our brain will start focusing only on situations that confirm our fears and insecurities. For example, if someone believes they are bad at socializing, they will remember every awkward interaction they have ever had, ignoring the times when conversations went smoothly. If a person thinks they will never be successful, they will notice only their failures and overlook their achievements. This creates a dangerous cycle where negative thinking strengthens itself, making it even harder to break free. To recognize negative thoughts, we must become more aware of our inner dialogue. We must start questioning the voice in our head that tells us we are not capable, not worthy, or not good enough. Instead of accepting these thoughts as facts, we should challenge them. Ask, is this really true? Do I have actual proof, or am I just assuming? More often than not, we will find that our negative thoughts are based on fear, past experiences, or societal conditioning rather than reality. Once we become aware of these destructive patterns, we can start taking control and replacing them with thoughts that empower us instead of limit us. You have the power to change your thoughts. And this is something many people underestimate. Thoughts may seem automatic, but they are not beyond our control. Just as we can train our bodies to be stronger, we can train our minds to be more positive and resilient. The first step in changing our thoughts is understanding that they are not permanent. A negative mindset is not a life sentence. It is a habit that can be unlearned. Just like learning any new skill, changing the way we think takes practice and effort, but it is absolutely possible. One of the most effective ways to take control of our thoughts is to consciously replace negativity with positivity. Every time a negative thought arises, we should challenge it and replace it with a more positive and constructive one. For example, if we think, I will never succeed, we can replace it with, I am capable and every step I take brings me closer to. If we catch ourselves thinking, I am not good enough, we can counter it with, I am constantly improving and growing. These small shifts in thinking may seem insignificant at first, but over time, they reshape our mindset and change the way we approach life. Another powerful technique is practicing gratitude. When we focus on what we are grateful for, our perspective shifts from what is lacking to what is abundant. Instead of dwelling on our shortcomings, we begin to appreciate our strengths. Instead of feeling stuck, we start seeing possibilities. The more we focus on the positive aspects of life, the easier it becomes to silence negativity. Taking control of our thoughts also requires us to be mindful of what we consume. The people we surround ourselves with, the books we read, the media we watch, all of these influence our mindset. If we constantly expose ourselves to negativity, our thoughts will reflect that. But if we fill our minds with uplifting, inspiring and motivational content, we will naturally start thinking more positively. It is a conscious choice we must make every single day. The power to change lies within us. Negative thoughts may arise, but they do not have to control us. By recognizing and challenging them, replacing them with empowering beliefs, and surrounding ourselves with positivity, we can rewire our minds for success and happiness. Every thought we choose matters, and by choosing the right ones, we create a life that is filled with confidence, courage, and endless possibilities. Replacing negative thoughts with positive, empowering beliefs is essential for personal growth and success. Our thoughts shape our actions, and our actions determine our outcomes. When we allow negativity to dominate our minds, we unknowingly sabotage our own potential. We start doubting ourselves, hesitating to take action, and fearing failure before we even begin. However, the good news is that we have the power to change this. Just as our minds have been conditioned to think negatively, we can retrain them to think positively. The key is to be intentional about replacing destructive thoughts with constructive ones. One of the most effective ways to do this is through self-awareness. The first step is to notice when a negative thought arises. Instead of letting it take control, we must pause and question it. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? If it is holding you back, it needs to be replaced with something that empowers you. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, I'm not smart enough to achieve my goals, replace it with, I am constantly learning and improving. If you find yourself saying, I will probably fail, change it to every challenge is an opportunity to grow and I will give my best effort. These small shifts in thinking can have a huge impact over time. Another powerful method for replacing negative thoughts is affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that reinforce self-belief and confidence. When repeated regularly, they help rewire the brain to focus on possibilities instead of limitations. Saying things like, I am capable, strong, and deserving of success may feel unnatural at first, especially if negative thinking has been a habit for a long time. But with consistency, these statements start to reshape the subconscious mind. Eventually, they become deeply ingrained beliefs that influence behavior in a positive way. Visualization is another technique that helps replace negativity with empowerment. When you constantly see yourself failing, struggling, or being judged, your mind starts believing that those outcomes are inevitable. But when you visualize yourself succeeding, handling challenges with confidence, and achieving your dreams, you begin to believe that success is possible. Your mind cannot always tell the difference between real experiences and vividly imagined ones. That's why athletes, performers, and successful people use visualization to mentally prepare for their goals. By picturing yourself overcoming obstacles and achieving greatness, you build a mindset that supports success rather than fears failure. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is also crucial in replacing negative thoughts. The people we spend time with shape our beliefs about ourselves and the world. If we are constantly around negative, critical, or pessimistic individuals, their energy will rub off on us. On the other hand, when we surround ourselves with optimistic, supportive, and ambitious people, we naturally start adopting their mindset. Books, podcasts, and motivational talks also play a role in shaping our thinking. Consuming uplifting content every day helps counteract the negativity that might already be embedded in our minds. It is important to remember that replacing negative thoughts with empowering beliefs is not a one-time action, it is a continuous process. Negative thoughts may still creep in from time to time, especially during moments of doubt or difficulty. The key is to stay aware and not let them take root. Every time a limiting belief arises, it should be challenged, reframed, and replaced with something that fuels confidence and growth. Over time, this practice becomes second nature and positive thinking becomes the default mindset. By consistently replacing negativity with empowering beliefs, we create a mental environment that supports success and happiness. We no longer let fear and self-doubt control our decisions. Instead, we take action with courage and determination. Our thoughts create our reality, and when we take charge of them, we take charge of our future. Surrounding yourself with positivity, people who uplift you, books that inspire you, and habits that strengthen your mind is one of the most important steps in overcoming negative thinking. The environment we immerse ourselves in has a powerful impact on our mindset, shaping the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Whether we realize it or not, the energy, words, and attitudes of those around us influence our thoughts and emotions. When we are constantly exposed to negativity, whether from people, media, or even our own habits, it becomes difficult to maintain a positive outlook. But when we intentionally build an environment that fosters encouragement, growth, and inspiration, our minds naturally begin to shift towards optimism and confidence. The people we surround ourselves with can either build us up or tear us down. If we spend time with individuals who constantly complain, doubt, or criticize, their negativity will start affecting our mindset. It becomes easy to absorb their pessimism and adopt a similar outlook on life. On the other hand, when we surround ourselves with people who encourage us, believe in us, and push us to be our best, we begin to think more positively. Their words and actions remind us of our potential and help us stay motivated even in challenging times. That is why it is so important to choose our relationships wisely. If certain friendships or connections bring constant negativity into our lives, it may be necessary to distance ourselves from them and instead seek out those who uplift and inspire us. In addition to the people around us, the content we consume also plays a significant role in shaping our thoughts. The books we read, the shows we watch, the music we listen to, and the social media we engage with all influence our perspective. If we constantly expose ourselves to negative news, toxic online discussions, or content that promotes fear and doubt, our minds will naturally absorb that negativity. However, when we choose to consume material that inspires, educates, and motivates, we create a mental environment that nurtures positivity. Reading books that promote personal growth, listening to podcasts that encourage success, and watching videos that uplift rather than discourage can all help rewire our thinking. Every piece of information we take in has the potential to either strengthen or weaken our mindset, so we must be mindful of what we allow into our mental space. Another key aspect of surrounding ourselves with positivity is developing habits that strengthen our minds and reinforce a positive outlook. Our daily routines and behaviors shape our thoughts more than we realize. If we begin our day by checking negative news or engaging in self-criticism, we set the tone for the rest of the day. But if we start with practices that cultivate positivity, such as gratitude journaling, meditation, or affirmations, we program our minds to focus on what is good rather than what is lacking. Exercise, healthy eating, and self-care also play a role in maintaining a positive mindset. When we take care of our physical health, we feel better mentally, making it easier to maintain a constructive and optimistic attitude. Creating an environment of positivity also involves setting boundaries with negativity. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult situations or ignoring challenges, but rather being mindful of how much negativity we allow into our lives. If certain conversations, media, or habits consistently bring us down, we have the power to limit their influence. This could mean reducing time spent on social media, avoiding gossip, or steering clear of discussions that lead to unnecessary stress and self-doubt. Protecting our mental space is just as important as taking care of our physical well-being. Ultimately, surrounding ourselves with positivity is about making conscious choices every day. It requires effort, but the rewards are life-changing. When we fill our minds with encouragement, inspiration, and motivation, we build resilience against negativity. We become stronger, more confident, and better equipped to handle life's challenges. Our thoughts shape our reality. And by choosing an environment that nurtures positivity, we take control of our happiness and success. Focusing on solutions instead of problems is one of the most effective ways to overcome negative thinking and cultivate a success-oriented mindset. Many people get stuck in a cycle of negativity because they spend too much time dwelling on their problems rather than looking for ways to solve them. When something goes wrong, their immediate reaction is to complain, feel discouraged, or believe that the situation is hopeless. This type of thinking only magnifies the problem, making it seem bigger and more overwhelming than it actually is. The more we focus on what is wrong, the more powerless we feel, and this can lead to stress, anxiety, and a lack of motivation. However, shifting our focus from problems to solutions changes everything. Instead of feeling stuck, we begin to see opportunities. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, we start thinking about what can be done to improve the situation. This shift in mindset empowers us to take control of our lives rather than be victims of circumstances. One of the reasons people tend to focus on problems is because of fear. When faced with challenges, our minds often jump to worst-case scenarios. We fear failure, embarrassment, or making the wrong decision, so we keep replaying the problem in our heads instead of taking action. But the truth is, no amount of worrying or overthinking will make a problem disappear. The only way to move forward is by taking action, and that starts with finding solutions. A simple yet powerful strategy is to ask, "What can I do about this?" Even if the situation seems difficult, there is always something that can be done, whether it is changing our approach, seeking advice, or simply adjusting our mindset. The more we train ourselves to focus on solutions, the more proactive and confident we become in handling life's challenges. Another key aspect of solution-focused thinking is developing a problem-solving attitude. Life will always present difficulties, but the way we respond to them makes all the difference. People who succeed are not those who never face problems, but those who learn how to overcome them. They view obstacles as opportunities for growth rather than roadblocks. When something doesn't go as planned, they don't waste time complaining. They immediately start looking for alternative ways to reach their goals. This mindset not only helps in difficult situations, but also builds resilience, making it easier to handle future challenges. A great way to practice focusing on solutions is to reframe problems as challenges to be solved. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," say, "How can I make this possible?" Instead of thinking, "I don't know what to do," ask, "What are my options?" These small changes in language shift our perspective from helplessness to empowerment. The brain is wired to seek answers, so when we ask ourselves productive questions, we naturally begin to look for solutions. This approach not only reduces stress, but also increases our ability to think creatively and find new opportunities where we previously saw obstacles. Another important factor in solution-based thinking is learning from mistakes rather than dwelling on them. Everyone experiences failure at some point, but the way we interpret failure determines whether we grow from it or let it hold us back. Instead of seeing failure as proof of inadequacy, we should see it as feedback, an opportunity to learn and improve. Every mistake teaches us something valuable, whether it is a better way to approach a situation, a lesson in patience, or a realization about what truly matters. By focusing on what we can learn rather than what went wrong, we transform setbacks into stepping stones for future success. Practicing gratitude also helps in shifting our focus toward solutions. When we focus only on problems, we tend to overlook the positive aspects of our lives. But when we take time to acknowledge what is going well, we gain a more balanced perspective. This doesn't mean ignoring difficulties, but rather approaching them with the mindset of appreciation and possibility. Gratitude helps us stay motivated and reminds us that challenges are just temporary obstacles, not permanent barriers. In the end, focusing on solutions is a habit that requires conscious effort. It may not come naturally at first, especially if we are used to reacting negatively to problems. But with practice, it becomes second nature. Every time we shift our focus from what is wrong to what can be done, we strengthen our ability to navigate challenges with confidence and clarity. We begin to see life not as a series of problems, but as a journey of learning and growth. This mindset allows us to take control of our circumstances, turn setbacks into opportunities, and create the life we truly desire. Practicing self-compassion is one of the most powerful ways to overcome negative thinking and build a strong, resilient mindset. Many people are extremely hard on themselves, constantly criticizing their mistakes, flaws, and shortcomings. When something goes wrong, they immediately blame themselves, thinking they are not good enough or not capable enough. This self-judgment fuels negative thinking and creates a cycle of self-doubt, anxiety, and low self-esteem. However, treating ourselves with kindness and understanding instead of harsh criticism allows us to break free from this destructive pattern. Self-compassion does not mean ignoring mistakes or avoiding responsibility. Rather, it means acknowledging that we are human, that imperfection is natural, and that we deserve the same kindness we would offer to a friend. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with self-compassion is because they believe being harsh on themselves will make them stronger or more successful. They think that if they push themselves harder and never allow mistakes, they will achieve more. But in reality, self-criticism does not lead to improvement. It leads to fear and self-doubt. When we constantly judge ourselves, we become afraid to take risks, fearing failure and rejection. This fear holds us back from trying new things, stepping out of our comfort zones, and pursuing our dreams. On the other hand, when we practice self-compassion, we build the confidence to keep going, even when things don't go as planned. We see mistakes as learning opportunities rather than proof of our inadequacy. This mindset shift allows us to grow, improve, and reach our full potential. A simple way to practice self-compassion is to change the way we talk to ourselves. Many people speak to themselves in a way they would never speak to someone they care about. If a friend made a mistake, we would offer support and encouragement, reminding them that everyone messes up sometimes and that they can learn from it. But when we make a mistake, we tend to say things like, "I'm so stupid," or "I'll never be good enough." These words may seem small, but they have a powerful impact on our self-esteem and mindset. Instead of being our own worst critic, we need to learn to be our own best supporter. When we catch ourselves using harsh words, we should stop and ask, would I say this to a loved one? If not, then we shouldn't say it to ourselves either. Another important aspect of self-compassion is accepting that failure and imperfection are part of being human. No one is perfect, and no one goes through life without setbacks. The most successful people in the world have failed many times, but they did not let those failures define them. Instead, they used them as stepping stones toward success. When we understand that mistakes are a natural part of growth, we stop being so hard on ourselves. We become more patient with our progress and more willing to try again after a setback. This resilience is what leads to long-term success and happiness. Taking care of ourselves physically, emotionally, and mentally is also an essential part of self-compassion. Many people neglect their own well-being, pushing themselves to exhaustion or ignoring their emotional needs. But just as we take care of a loved one when they are struggling, we must also take care of ourselves. This means getting enough rest, eating nutritious food, engaging in activities that bring joy, and allowing ourselves time to relax and recharge. Self-care is not selfish. It is necessary for a healthy and positive mindset. When we treat ourselves with the love and care we deserve, we build a strong foundation for confidence, happiness, and success. Forgiving ourselves is another key aspect of self-compassion. Holding on to guilt, regret, or past mistakes only keeps us trapped in negativity. We all have things we wish we had done differently, but dwelling on them does not change the past. It only prevents us from moving forward. Learning to forgive ourselves means accepting that we did the best we could with the knowledge and circumstances we had at the time. It means letting go of self-blame and focusing on what we can do better in the future. By releasing the weight of past mistakes, we free ourselves to grow, improve, and embrace new opportunities. Practicing self-compassion takes time, especially if we have spent years being overly critical of ourselves. But the more we make an effort to be kind, understanding, and supportive toward ourselves, the more our mindset shifts. We stop seeing ourselves as failures and start recognizing our strengths. We stop allowing negative thoughts to control us and start believing in our ability to overcome challenges. Self-compassion is not about being perfect. It is about accepting ourselves as we are, while striving to become the best version of ourselves. When we treat ourselves with kindness and patience, we build the confidence, resilience, and positivity needed to achieve our goals and create a fulfilling life. Killing negative thinking is not an overnight process, but with consistent effort and self-awareness, it is absolutely possible. The key is to challenge destructive thoughts, replace them with empowering beliefs, surround ourselves with positivity, and treat ourselves with kindness. Life is full of challenges, but our mindset determines how we face them. By focusing on solutions, practicing self-compassion, and embracing a growth-oriented attitude, we take control of our thoughts and ultimately our future. Remember, the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your thoughts. So choose positivity, resilience, and self-belief. You have the power to break free from negativity and create a mindset that leads to success, happiness, and fulfillment.